Hi, Mr. Rice. I'm so glad that you are here and get to be our guest today, and that we get to learn from you about Fair Trade USA and what you do for improving the rights of people working in the farming industry. In my introduction, I talked about the dire conditioned workers. Often children have to work to harvest ingredients for chocolate, but I know this is probably the case for many other products. And I was hoping that today you would be so kind as to share with us what your approach is to improving the situation and how we can all make a difference.
Well, thanks, Marie. It's great to be here with you today. And thanks for giving me a chance to talk about my favorite subject, which is fair trade. So fair trade, in essence, is all about great products that improve people's lives and help protect the environment. And the way we do that is we have a standard, we have a set of rules or guidelines that every farmer in the world who wants to be fair trade has to obey. And they get visited by an inspector who walks around, asks questions, does an audit, and gets verified every year that that farmer is meeting the fair trade standard. And when they do, those farmers can sell their products to any one of our fair trade buyers here in the United States or around the world, and they get a premium. They get more money.
I was about to ask, like, what incentivizes farmers to take these bigger steps, which may not always be essentially the most convenient in the beginning for them, but.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's all about farmers tapping into this fair trade market and getting rewarded for being more sustainable and more just in their practices, right? So all of the brands that we work with, and we work with now over 1,000 brands and retailers. So we work with Walmart, we work with Whole Foods, we work with Safeway, we work with all the retailers, Trader Joe's, Costco. We also work with great brands like Peet's Coffee or PepsiCo or General Mills. And like, here's an example. You've heard of Larabar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the fair trade label right here. And what that means is that the chocolate in these Larabars come from a fair trade farm. It means that Larabar paid more money back to those farmers so that they could invest in their farms, in their families, so they could keep kids in school. A lot of the fair trade farmers take the extra money that they get from the buyer and they do community projects. So they build schools or they build health centers, or they'll dig a well to bring clean drinking water into the village for the first time. So really, really life-changing things that otherwise wouldn't be possible without that fair trade premium. I'll show you a couple of other brands. So here's Alter Eco chocolate. It's my favorite chocolate.
Yes, my mom likes that a lot too.
Right, and there's the organic label. Not all fair trade products are organic, but when fair trade
they're
farmers,
not necessarily connected all the time.
when they go organic, they get more money. So there's an incentive. Here's my latest favorite coffee. You can get it at Trader Joe's. You can see our fair trade label right on the center.
I should try that out.
So yeah, so there's the whole social justice part of fair trade, which is improving lives and making sure that farmers and workers have a better living condition. But then there's the environmental piece too, which is that our farmers have to implement a whole series of sustainable agriculture measures, right? So they have to take care of the soil. They have to take care of the streams, of the forest around their farms. They can't deforest and plant more coffee, right? They have to maintain that forest cover. So all of those things are monitored and audited every year. And so really it's fair to say that when you buy a fair trade product, you're not only taking care of the families that made that product, but you're also taking care of the ecosystem where they live.
And the whole community.
And the whole community, exactly.
So for the environment part, is it a lot focused on like regenerative agriculture or just not harming?
That's a great question. We're not quite there yet with regenerative. Regenerative agriculture and really replenishing soil is kind of a new phenomenon, a new movement that we are definitely supporting for sure. But until now, the fair trade standard has really been more about conservation rather than regeneration. It's why I like the idea of regeneration so much, because soil fertility has been depleted so much over the years that really we need to build it back up. right now, fair trade standards are really about helping farmers make sure that soils aren't depleted even further, that surrounding forests are taken care of, that streams aren't polluted by runoff from their farm. So it's really more of a conservation approach. But we're in the conversation with the regenerative movement, and I expect we'll probably raise our bar over time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're hip to that, because that's kind of a new thing.
Yeah, it is. My mom, well, she did a little camp and we learned about it there.
Cool.
So now that we learned a little bit more big picture, I'm guessing just one of the main things that we all can do is just buy fair trade and look at what we're buying and where it comes from and all that stuff.
Yes. That's why I brought my show and tell. Look for the label.
Yeah.
That's how you know. It's not just the words fair trade, because this certification label, it's trademarked. So not anyone can use it, right? You can only use it if you met the standard and got audited and got verified every year. So that's, that's the number one call to action. If you're going to go buy a chocolate bar, just look for the label so that you know that there's no child labor in your chocolate bar. If you're going to buy coffee or sugar, I mean, we certify now 40 different products, from t-shirts and furniture to all kinds of fruits and vegetables and coffee and chocolate and sugar and so on. So the call to action is look for the label and buy the product, but there's more that we can do too. We're seeing this actually on college campuses and in high school campuses more and more, where students are they're forming a committee, they're getting organized, learning about fair trade, and then they go to the administration and they say, the bananas in our dining hall, the bananas you're serving in the school lunchroom, we want them to be fair trade. The tea, the coffee, everything, we want the school to support fair trade by bringing it into the lunchroom or into the office. And you know what? That's a way to have a tremendous impact. We recently got the entire UC Berkeley system, so all the University of California, I should say the entire UC system. So not just Berkeley, but UCLA and UC San Diego, all the University of California schools recently agreed to make all coffee served in every dining hall in the system fair trade by the end of next year. Wow. So, I mean, now with COVID, yeah. No one's going into the dining hall anyway, but my point is, that's a way that kids can have a huge impact on the world, not just through their own choices, but then by advocating that the institutions that you're a part of make that choice too.
That's really, really cool. And definitely something to think of, take inspiration of, for hopefully one day when I can go back to my new school.
Right.
Yeah. All COVID permitting, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was all super interesting, especially learning about all the different products you guys certify, because I feel like I've known about fair trade for a while, but like I always think about coffee and chocolate, not about furniture, not about clothing. So
yeah. Well, I'll bet you've heard of a brand called Madewell.
Yes, actually this shirt is from Madewell.
There you go. So we recently started certifying clothing. I say recently, about 5 years ago. And so Madewell is one of our major partners. So last year we introduced the first fair trade blue jeans in the world.
Whoa.
With Madewell. And now we're working with Target, and Target is going to launch fair trade blue jeans as well. So it's really cool, because think about it.
Because products? One of the biggest pollutants.
It's one of the biggest pollutants. It's also one of the biggest exploiters of labor, And if you think about our experience as consumers, what products do we have the closest relationship to? It's what we eat and what we wear.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe our phones too. So we'll get on to certifying iPhones someday. But for now, food and clothing, that's where we're focusing our efforts.
And they're smaller price range and easier to obtain. You buy more of them in a lifetime rather than phones.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you very, very much. That was all incredibly informative and interesting.
Happy to do it, Marie. Thanks for getting the word out. Let me just say that you and your generation give me hope. Like our generation inherited a mess, and I think we just made it a bigger mess. But I've got two kids, just a little bit older than you too, and you know what I see in you all, in your generation, and in your mindset, is you're much more savvy about these issues. You know what so many of the problems are, and you expect companies to do better. And that's really what we need. We need citizens, and especially young people, to hold companies accountable and to say, look, we like your products, but if you're going to pollute the environment or exploit families with your products, we're going to buy someone else's. That message, because every company responds to consumer demand, right? So that message from your generation to the good companies saying we like you, not just because you make a great t-shirt, but because you're a good company. And these other companies, you know what, fast fashion, we're not into that anymore because you're harming the planet. You guys can make a difference. And I know so many of us feel like our voice doesn't matter, like the world's problems are so big, and what can little old me, what can I do? But here's the thing, companies respond to consumer voice. They respond to the purchasing decisions that we all have control over.
Money is
And
extremely
so
powerful.
we have the ability every day, every time we shop, to kind of vote with our shopping dollars for a better world.
Yeah.
So keep doing what you're doing, Marie. I'm really, really, really proud and inspired by your whole generation.
Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Absolutely.